Alright, welcome back to Trouble Garage. So today I'm going to be carrying on with the Subaru Sambar Rescue. As you saw in the last video, I got this thing up and running finally with that carburetor that I picked up. Today I'm going to get this thing on the road. In fact, I just got back from putting insurance on this thing, so I'm going to be throwing some plates on it. They're actually sitting right there. And yeah, this thing's going to hit the road today. So we're going to be going for a test drive and everything. Let's just get right to it and get this thing on the road. First thing I'll do is let's clean up the clutter. This place is a mess, so let's get that done. Alright, that's looking much better. The next thing I'm going to do is actually jack the front of the truck up, and I got to fill that front differential with oil. And I've got to check, I think there's one drive shaft bolt that I need to tighten up that connects to the front differential. So that'll be the next thing. Okay, so looking underneath the truck, this is the front differential. So that's the front of the truck there. And right here is where you fill up your differential. The drain is down here at the front. And as you remember, I did drain it out. And this is where you just put it in on the side. Looks like another 17 millimeter head bolt. And then these are the bolts. I'm pretty sure there's one on here that I need to tighten up. So I'll check those. And if you notice underneath here, it's really muddy and mucky under here. I have a pressure washer attachment that goes on the end of the wand. I'll show you. It sprays upwards, so you can roll it underneath your vehicle and spray underneath. That's what I'm going to be using when I pull this thing out shortly here to pressure wash it. So right now I'm just going to fill up this front diff. Next thing I want to do is install the spare tire rack. So there's one nut or bolt on here, looks like a nut. And then there's two nuts, or one nut there and another nut there. So I'll bolt this thing in and throw the spare tire in. So the spare tire rack is in. Next thing I'll do is obviously slide the tire in. But before I do that, I checked and it's got no air in it. So I'll throw some air in. This thing's kind of ugly, but you know what? It's the original weird old tire. I don't think I'd ever run it, but I suppose in a pinch it would work. But it definitely is no good without air. So let's throw some air in it. All right, let's slide the tire in here. That goes in like that. Then this little bracket comes on. There's a hook up here. Goes in something like that. Now I just got to tighten up this nut down here, tighten up this strap, and that'll be the tire in place. So with the spare tire in, the next thing I gotta do is actually I gotta bleed these rear brakes. So let's take these nuts off here, pop this wheel off, and this is obviously the left or right side of the vehicle, driver's side. I'll do this one second because the master cylinder is on this side of the vehicle. So we'll start on the other side, get that one bled, and then come back to this one. So bleeding these is very obvious. It's easy to get to once the wheel's off. Your bleed nipple's right there. Of course, as you remember, I installed new slave cylinders, so these will be nice and easy to undo. If yours are the original ones, you could have a bit of a challenge on your hand because they can be pretty rusted. So yeah, I'll just get an assistant to get on the brake pedal here and get these things bled. All right, I'll get my little thing on here. It's an 8 millimeter for the one I'm using here. Okay, assistant, give that a push. Let go. Okay, push. Let go. Push. Okay, that should be good. It's one done. Let's move to the other side. Okay, that should have the air out. I think we're good to go. That's the brakes bled. Next thing I want to do is top up my master cylinder, which is located on the driver's side of the dashboard. Just pop this cover off. You can look in the side to see where you are at. I'm about halfway between full and low. So I'm going to top this up with some .3 brake fluid. And we'll just bring that up to the full line. A little more. That'll do it right there. Lid back on. And there we go. Brakes are bled, fluid's full. I got the wheels back on and they're torqued. What's next? So with everything underneath the vehicle pretty much all done now, at least I can't think of anything else, the next thing I'm going to do is focus on the engine compartment here and get this finished up. I've got the air box I've got to put on. So I got the cover here. I got this little elbow that goes from the carburetor to the air box, and a couple of covers for the side of the carburetor, and I don't know, maybe there's a vacuum line or two. I got to just double check, make sure everything's hooked up. This is quite dirty inside, some corrosion and whatnot, so I'm going to go give this a quick clean, and I'll come back and install it. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. I'm just going to just go see if this thing starts up real quick here before I get too carried away. Yep, that's good. One thing I've noticed with this thing running, the valves, I think there's one valve where my valve clearance is a bit much, so I'm probably going to have to pull that valve cover off and recheck the valve lash. I think one of them's a little bit too much because it's got one valve you can hear ticks pretty loud. So this is all done in here now. Next thing I'll do is throw the engine cover on. I'm going to put this thing down on the ground, take it outside, and we're going to give this thing the deep clean that it needs. All right, so this thing's all ready to go for a drive. I actually backed it back and forth in the garage here. The brakes work, the clutch engagement feels perfect. The plates are on, all the lights work. It is ready to go. Unfortunately, it's gotten quite dark, and I have to stop the video here for today. But tomorrow, I'm going to get the pressure washer out. Unfortunately, the forecast is for rain tomorrow, so I'm hoping it's not too bad because, yeah, I want to give this thing a good clean and take you guys for the first inaugural test drive. So, yeah, I'll catch you guys in the morning. Okay, it's the next day, and the rain has held off so far, so I'm going to get right into this thing and start pressure washing. I'm going to start with my little attachment that goes on the bottom of my pressure washer wand. And this thing rolls back, and you can roll it back and forth underneath the vehicle, and it sprays upwards. And so I'll be able to clean up all the mud and crap that's underneath. So let's fire up the pressure washer and get right to it. All right, so this thing made short work of the stuff that was underneath the truck. Is definitely a lot of mud and muck that was caked up underneath there that is no longer. So now I'm going to get some degreaser because there's some spots along here. There's just a lot of like heavy mold almost on the outside of the paint. So I'm going to get some degreaser, start at the roof, get a brush, scrub it a bit, and then hit it with the pressure washer. I found when I did this, when I first picked it up, as you saw, it was really bad. It did put a dent in it. So I'm going to go ahead and start cleaning it with some heavy degreaser and a scrub brush and the pressure washer. All right, that got it cleaned up quite nice. There is some paint, sort of discoloration in the bottom. I think this has been touched up a few times with some paint, but and you can see some overspray on the mud flap there. But I mean, overall, it cleaned up pretty nice. The bed, some of the bed liner is worn off a little bit, but it was full of kind of mud and crap. I still do have to put in 2 bolts in the bed here that are I got to machine the heads down, so I still got that to do. The cab turned out actually quite nice. That's looking good. The roof actually came out, it was really bad. That came out quite nice. There's a few spots that are, a couple spots that are a little bit, they don't want to come off. It's like the mold or whatever got into it, right deep into the paint. That does have a bit of a dinger right there. And the hinge on the fuel door is kind of wonky. I'm going to have to try to play with that. It's kind of seized up and bent. I'll have to play with that a little bit. But yeah, the next thing I'm going to do, because of course the rain is coming, I've got to put the wiper blades on. If you don't remember, I put new wipers on, new wiper blades, and painted up the arms so they look nice and new. So I'm going to install those right now. So the wiper arms are pretty self-explanatory. There is no left and right. They're both the same. Basically held on with a 12mm nut. Just kind of get them straight where you want them. Put your nut on and tighten them up. Hopefully that's good. All right, I got those just adjusted down a little bit, and let's just have a quick look, see. Perfect. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is just give the inside of the windshield a clean. It's pretty dirty, and then we're going for a test drive. All right, I got the Mustang out of the way. Let's go for a ride. All right, got Jenny on the camera. She's coming along for a ride. All right, let's see what this thing can do. Pretty, so far so good. Put a window up here.
So quiet compared to the other one.
It is very quiet compared to my other truck. The tires aren't very good. That one, the front left has got a pretty bad leak. All right, just figured out. Oh, she just died. Oh, what the hell? Oh, shoot. What's going on? Hey, I'm only a couple blocks from the house and it quit. So I'm gonna go get my little Sambar and we're gonna tow it home. Okay, got the recovery vehicle. We'll hook this sucker up somewhere. Right here's a great spot. Down on the bottom here. Right under here. Oh, actually, no, there's one right here. Right in the front bumper. Perfect. I didn't even realize that was there. If I can get this through there. That might be a bit tight. Let's see. That'll work. Get that to spin. Oh, yeah, there we go. Perfect. All right. Okay, I got my little Mighty Mow back in the driveway and picked up this thing. So let's see if we can find out what happened. I don't think the distributor got wet, but it was like an ignition problem. It just quit. Maybe it's a fuel filter plugged up. I don't know, but let's dig into it. Okay, I got the engine cover off. So these things, nice thing about these little trucks, it can only be one of two things: no spark or no fuel, much like a lawnmower. So first thing I'm going to do is check to see if there's any fuel. The way I'm going to do that is actually just pop off this fuel return line, turn the engine over a few times. If it sprays fuel out here, I know that's not the problem. It's probably spark. I suppose it could be a float problem, but this carburetor was running perfectly, so that'll tell me if there's any fuel going into the carburetor. Try and hold that camera while I do this and see if we can see fuel spraying out of that little thing. Oh yeah, look at that. I turn the key off and on. You can see the fuel spray. So it's a spark. So maybe the distributor got wet from pressure washing it. It didn't look like it, but that's my first thing. So I'll put that fuel line back on and look underneath here. All right, I just popped the distributor cap off. It is bone dry. So the next thing to check is the coil. So dig deeper. Hopefully that's what it is. I don't think I have a spare one of those, so hopefully it's something simple. All right, I think I might know what the problem is. This ground wire I forgot to hook up. I'm pretty sure this ground wire is for the coil, and right now the coil is getting its ground just from the bolts into the body. I'm not sure, but I'm going to hook up this ground wire to the body here and see if that solves it. Let's see if that solved it. Oh, maybe not. Big fat negative. Well, let's keep looking. Okay, the next thing I just did was I just put a tap down in here and put this right close to it and turn it over. Lots of spark. So there is a spark. That makes it interesting. It makes me think that maybe the float is stuck shut in the carburetor, possibly. I don't know, so maybe I'll try tapping that carb a couple times with a mallet, see if I can jar it loose. Yeah, the plot thickens. Okay, it's running, but I decided, you know what, I'm going to pop this valve cover off. You can hear that one really loud tap, so I'm going to get there and check all the valve lash. All right, I just popped the valve cover off, and right off the bat, this one here, that is too much lash, I know for sure. So I'm going to go around and check all of these. That was pretty good. That one might be tight, or it's just on the valve. But anyway, I'm going to go around and check all these valve lash and set them. All right, I got those all adjusted. That one, I think it was this one here, was actually 28 thou, almost 29 thousandths of an inch. Should be 6. 6 for the intake, 8 for the exhaust. So there you go, those are all set. So now I have to put this back in. But of course, remember, you need to put silicone back in these corners. So I'm gonna peel this old silicone off, get this nice and clean, make sure the gasket is nice and dry and clean, and then put new silicone in those corners and put this on. Then that's gonna have to sit for a little bit for that silicone to cure before we run the thing. All right, I got the valve cover back on. It's been sitting there for a while. So let's put this. All right, let's start this thing up, see how much quieter it is. Make sure I'm in neutral. Wow. What a difference. That tick is completely gone. I actually checked all of them. They're all out a little bit. But that one for sure was very noisy. So there you go. It's very nice and quiet. If I take it for a little drive, I've got a little mallet here to tap the carburetor if that float sticks again. So let's see what happens. Okay, so I took this out for a little drive and it was running beautifully. Shifting gears nice. The brakes are good. It doesn't pull. It's super quiet. But unfortunately, it did break down again just a couple blocks from my house. And yeah, the carburetor is not getting fuel. I took the fuel line off again once I got it back home, and it is pushing fuel out. So fuel is getting to the carb, but there's no doubt that needle valve is stuck shut. So I'm going to be pulling that carburetor off. I had this little mallet with me, and I was tapping the top of the carburetor gently to see if I could jar it loose. To no avail. It's not coming loose. So I will be pulling the carburetor. But I'm really happy with the truck. It drives great. It's just everything about this truck is really good. But I'm going to have to finish it off on the next video because I want to get some content out to you guys. So I hope you're enjoying this Subaru Sambar rescue series. It's this close to being finished. But that'll have to be in the next video. So thoughts and comments down below. Think about subscribing. You know, the numbers keep going up. I really appreciate everybody. Yeah, so thanks a lot for watching. Have yourself a great day.